Hey everyone, Luther Allison here. In this video, I would like to break down some of my favorite methods for practicing block chords on the piano. Block chords are one of the most expressive tools that jazz pianists can use. They allow us to find unique ways to harmonize melodies on the piano, whether it be within the octave or also expanding outside of an octave. Today we're going to cover all of these concepts, and I'm going to show you examples from my new resource, 27 Block Chord Etudes. In this book, you'll find etudes designed to help you play melodies with full harmonically rich block chords, practice voice leading across different chord types, explore chromatic approaches and upper structure voicings, combine different block chord concepts into flowing musical lines, and apply these techniques over real jazz standards. In the resource, you'll have overhead recordings of me playing through each of the block chord concepts. If you're interested in purchasing the entire resource, you can click the link in the bio below and use the code BLOCK5 for $5 off. So let's get into the first concept. When building block chords, one of the most important things that you have to be familiar with at the beginning is something that is called the diminished sixth scale. So this is a scale that is basically just your major scale. So if we start in the key of C, you play through a C major scale, but then you add a half step between your 5 and your 6. So it sounds something like this. Now, if you look in this scale, there's two different chords that can be highlighted. One of those chords being your C6 chord. Now, in between each of these chords, you're going to have a diminished chord. You'll have your D diminished. So just with my right hand alone, if I play through this entire scale, and now I go back and forth between my C6 and my D diminished in each of the inversions, it's going to sound something like this. Now, as you can see, each of my fingers are following that diminished sixth scale. So every single finger, my index finger, which is starting on 3, E, is still following the scale. My middle finger, which is starting on G, is following the scale. Same with my ring finger, which is starting on A. Each of those notes are following the scale. Now, what I can do to fill this sound out a little bit more is closing the octave. And oftentimes, people refer to this as locked hands block chords. So you'll have, maybe if we were to start with this voicing. So instead of starting with our thumb on C, we'll start with our pinky on C. And then we'll close the octave in our left hand. And then we're going to do the same thing and play through the entire scale. And now you have your block chords. In my latest resource, 27 Block Chord Etudes, one of the songs that we focused on is You're My Everything. And this is a concept that I used a little bit over that tune. This song also has quite a few chord changes. So as you go through different chord changes, the chords that you use are going to change ever so slightly. At the very beginning, we have our melody, which is, and I play. Now this is all over an A minor chord. And then our chords move a little bit afterwards, and I fill out those chords. Now, if we go back to that very first chord, I'm actually implying the 5 of A. So that way it gives us a little bit of tension, voice leading, as we were even saying before, leading into that A minor chord. So the first note, E, I fill that out as an E7 flat 9 chord. And as you can see, each of those notes give you a little bit of tension that's leading into your A minor 7. Or if you want to, A minor 6. All I did to change that was instead of the minor 7, I used the 6. This is another important thing to practice. If we're in the key of A minor, instead of playing an A minor 7, then going back to and our diminished chord is always going to be the same passing diminished chords in our major and the relative minor of that. The only difference is oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes, if you're in a minor key, it could be a minor 6 chord. So instead of G, I would have a G flat, and it would sound like this if I were to play through the entire scale. That's just the first few measures of what I played. Also, in this same tune, we have a very similar occurrence in the melody that happens a little bit later, and that's leading into our D minor chord, which is our D minor 7. So if I were to look at D minor, what's my 5 of that? It would be A, which in the key of C, which is where we are, or A minor, whatever you want to call it. I guess you would say C because the last chord of this song is a C major chord. So we're in the key of C major. D is my 2. The 5 of that is A, but in the key of C, that's going to be our 6th chord. Hopefully everybody's still with me. Now leading to that D, our melody goes. So on that A, I'll fill out my flat 9, my 3, my 5, and my 1, which is the melody. First time I did it D minor 6, then D minor 7, whichever one you're hearing. Now another thing that we see here is some side slipping because our melody isn't all diatonic right here. We have a quick E flat that's being played. Our passing chords are diminished. Those were all passing chords. Well, just a couple of them were passing chords. The E, the G were passing chords. And somewhat of the A. That's kind of a, tension. And then our resolution. Now leading to that E diminished, I'm doing a side slip from E flat diminished 7. Now here on D minor 7, what does our melody do? Leading to our G7, which I played it as a G7 sus. Or if you want to, you can switch it up a little bit. But as you can see, everything is locked hands. So everything is staying within the octave. Now another perfect example, shortly after this, our melody goes. Right? Now, over each of these chords, we're just moving diatonically. You want to watch out for any diatonic motions because that's always going to be a perfect time to use these diminished passing chords. Going back and forth from our 6th chord to our diminished passing chord. When our melody goes, perfect time to use it. Now we're slightly outside of the key on this B flat. So sometimes if we're a little bit outside of the key, I tend to use a diminished chord. To our 5. Or, there we go. And this is all playing the melody of the song, harmonizing that melody. All diatonic again right here. Now here, we step outside just a little bit because our chord is a D dominant 7 instead of a D minor 7. So in this case, you want to be careful for whatever note is being altered, and you want to make sure that you're including that inside of the voicing of the chord. Now also, still having the melody, those would probably still be the notes I would play if it were a D minor 7, something along those lines. Has a little bit of a crunch in there, which is nice. But instead, I'll say, bringing out that sharp 11 in the chord. And so that's a little bit about diminished passing chords in the context of You're My Everything. So let's get into the second concept for today. Another very important sound for everybody to familiarize yourselves with is the drop voicing. So if we look back at our C6 voicing, as we did with our lock hands concept, also known as block chords, but if we just use our right hand alone, and what we're doing in our drop 2 voicing is we're going to drop the second note from the top. So we move our A down an octave. So if I were to play this through the entire scale, it would sound something like this. And this is a very beautiful sound that opens up your voicing a little bit more. The same thing can be done for any voicing. For example, if I want to take a D minor 7 voicing and I use it this way, because oftentimes if I'm playing with the basses, I'm probably not going to be playing a bass note really low with them. I might play it up high, but if I just take this voicing alone and I do drop 2, it opens it up just a little bit more. That's all using drop 2. That's what's happening if I were to put it in one hand, opening it up to the drop 2 now. Now, obviously, you can also add extensions. You can use for diminished chords. As you can see right here, if I were to play a fully diminished 7 chord, I just drop that second note from the top, it opens it up just a little bit more. And this is a beautiful sound that just opens up your voicings. Now, what you can also do is something called drop 2, drop 4. As I mentioned before, with just drop 2, you're only dropping one of those notes, the second note from the top. For drop 2, drop 4, you're going to drop the 4th note from the top. So if it's a 4-note voicing, it's really just your bottom note, along with the second note from the top. So for example, if I were to take an E flat major 7 right here in the meatier part of the piano, if I were to do drop 2, drop 4, I'm going to drop second to highest note, my 4th to highest note. Watch what happens. You have a much fuller sound with your voicing, and it spreads things out a little bit. You have your 5th. You also have a beautiful 6th in here, a lot of very nice spacing between the notes. 10th, also a 10th here. A beautiful way that I like to open up sounds for major 7th chords. And you can even take this sound through the keys. So you can take it diatonically. If we're in the key of E flat major, it's a completely different sound as opposed to So that is just a few examples of some drop voicings. And these are great sounds to use when playing melodies to songs, when comping, accompanying somebody's solo or the melody of the song. Very beautiful voicings that will open up your sound on the instrument. Now let's hear these drop 2 concepts in action from the Resource 27 block chord etudes, specifically the example of Autumn Leaves. All right, everyone, that concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this helps. And if you would like to dive deeper into any of these concepts, you can check out the full resource in the description below. And don't forget to use the code BLOCK5 for $5 off. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.